Social conformity. To conform to live like everybody else. To act like everybody else. To do what everybody else does. And to basically put yourself in a place where, you're getting influenced by the outside world. The outside world can have a million things to offer you. But why do we conform to what everybody else does? Why do we stay in a state of acceptance? We see that, if you do this, you get accepted and you feel good about it, even though if it doesn't align with what you originally wanted to do. You feel, I should just do it too because this is what's gonna make me feel accepted. To not question anything, to conform to what everybody else thinks, does, and feels is basically limiting yourself to what everybody around you does, because you won't go that extra mile if somebody around you doesn't do it. You won't do it. Social conformity, you see it all the time. People have the same routines. They work on their phones, do something here and there, but it doesn't have no depth. It doesn't have no, original, it doesn't have no original, structure. Like, we don't sit here and ask ourselves, what do I really want? What do I really want to do? What do I really like? What do I really enjoy? What are my values? How do I view the world? How do I view myself? Do I want the car just like everybody else? Do I want this goal that everybody else sets out to have? Do I want to do the same things everybody else does? Do I want to, accumulate possessions and quote unquote that's going to make me happy? Like, do I really want these things, or are these things just going to make me accepted? That's the real question. And I feel like everybody does this. Everybody wants to do something to feel accepted on one way or another. And you judge, condemn, everybody lives the same way. Everybody lives judging other people, liking things about some people, but then this person is not good because this person, and it's all bullshit because we're all one, and putting all these labels on people, you're just putting thoughts on people, man. Like, we see somebody, I don't like this person. Why? Like, do you hear what you're actually saying? Like, when you judge these people, you're only judging yourself, because it's a pure reflection of who you could have been and who you are. It's the same being within you, and then it's the projection of that, localized consciousness or localized being. And it's almost like when you see trees. Some trees are more tilted to the right because the sunlight comes from that side. Some trees are merged with others, and they're just different types of trees, just like there's different types of people. You have to understand that at some level or another. Like, I guess to a point where you have to understand that. Some people don't, but this social conformity that we have of being like everybody else, we don't even question the fact that we go into work with a bad attitude after we've been in the job for a year, 2 years. And we think it's cool to just complain about jobs. We complain about everything. We complain about literally anything that comes up in our life. We find a way to view it from a negative perspective. Rarely do we view things as a positive experience. And when we do, we do it for a week, and then we fall back into a negative perspective. No matter what relationship you have with someone or the job you have, if you little by little start accumulating negative thoughts about that job and negative comments, it's going to accumulate into you actually not liking the job or not liking what you're doing. And this goes to everything, to the gym, to anything you want to do. And it's just so easy to conform like everybody else, because it doesn't require any thinking for yourself. It just requires falling in line with what everybody else has to do, say, or, be. Like, everybody wants to buy a house, then get a car, and then have a wife, and then work, and then retire, and then that's it. do you really think you came into this world to do these things? Like, I'm talking to your soul right now. Like, I'm not talking to this mind that's addicted to worldly things, pleasures, and, mind identification. I'm asking your soul, what do you really want, out of this experience of life? Like, this is your life. Fuck what anybody else thinks, says, or has to say about your life. What do you want to do with it, And it's hard for people to let those things out because it's like it doesn't conform with what everybody else thinks, believes, and, it makes other people uncomfortable. They're like, man, why are you not doing this? Why are you not, why don't you, like, it comes in different forms as well. Like, and you just feel their energy. It's almost like they're insecure. Like, hey, why aren't you falling in line with like everybody else? And they don't see it like that. They see it as accomplishments because, they've never done it before. But intuitively, you just feel that calmness about it. Like, you don't feel like you need to do it. And that's how I feel. I feel like there's a sense of peace in possessions. Like, I every time I get something, I don't feel greater. Like, that stage that I was in where things had an effect on me as far as like, oh wow, like this is, my sense of self has been enhanced because of this, has died off ever since I realized who I am. And I just realized when I do that, I'm putting layers on top of layers on top of layers. Not only layers of conceptions, beliefs, and opinions, but layers of clothing. Like, now it's clothing. These things are going to make me more valuable than I was yesterday. God is the same today, yesterday, and forever and always. Or you have your routine that's dedicated to, yourself. And this person goes and buys any possession you could think of. How do you compare these two people, Did the person that meditate and connect to God gain more? Okay, he gained more. Let's say he gained more. Now this person that, let's say, bought a new car, do you feel like it amounts to the same thing? Do you feel like the car has the same value as connecting to God? You know what I mean? Like, how do you, and it becomes tricky because you can't show anybody that you connected with God. So they can't judge you off of it. It's almost like walking with a sign, hey, I connected to God. It's like nobody can see that you did. But if you buy a car, you get all these praises and admirations, Who do you want to be and who do you aim to be? You always find people trying to tell you what to do, who to be, what to say. And it's like, man, I don't want to do those things. I don't want your opinion. If you want the wrong answers about your life and your career or whatever you're doing, ask everybody. Their minds are in another dimension, It's almost like there's two different HDMI cords. You're in a certain level of consciousness, they're in a certain level of consciousness. And y'all just can't see each other's perspective because your HDMI is on HDMI 2 and their HDMI is HDMI 1. And you're just viewing the world totally different. When you feel connected to the world, how do you feel? Like, how do you go about things, You don't feel like you got to conform like everybody else because you realize everybody is living the wrong way. People are literally running from facing their own soul. They're running from, how uncomfortable it is to face yourself and ask yourself the deep questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What influence am I having on people? Am I just here for myself? Am I just here to, everything about me, nothing about anybody else? It's just everything has to do with me. Everything has to revolve around me. Not realizing that you're a guest in God's kingdom. Not realizing that, God is with you wherever you go and he's just trying to help you grow consciously. And we just have to put our foot there, and work with him. Many things distract us in this world today. But conformity kills us because it basically deletes all the files of who we are and it downloads the files of society. You feel the tingling sometimes of like, hey, this is not who I am, man. And it's just a cycle of delaying yourself from being who you truly are and delaying your evolution. People conform to what everybody else does because it's easy. They don't know why they do it. It's easier to act like everybody else. Some people have died already. Some people are just here existing. You know? I know people don't want to live like that. And I know that that isn't who people are. It's just what happens when you conform for too long, you know? You don't demand more of yourself. You just conform with what's happening, what people tell you. And you're literally just, a boat in the middle of the ocean without no direction. So you're just in the ocean being directed by the wind. You have no destination. If you're not committed to anything, you're going to be lost in everything because you can't find your direction. Stop conforming to what people tell you. Ask yourself and have the courage to live out your truth, even if it doesn't satisfy the people around you, or even if it doesn't align with other people's points of views.